Thank you for listening to the Flying High Club podcast in association with the World Aviation Festival 2024 in Amsterdam. We've been delighted to be able to bring you this, and it wouldn't have been possible without our sponsors, Flyware. Flyware are experts in aviation and travel space, providing tech outsourcing services focused on increasing revenue and making your operations more efficient. Without their support, we wouldn't be able to bring you what we are bringing you today. And more importantly, what we need you to do is, if you want to find out more about Flyware, please check the caption below for more details. Thank you for subscribing and keep following us. Keep flying high. Welcome everyone to the Flying High Club podcast. We are delighted to be here at World Aviation Festival 2024 in Amsterdam, and we keep rolling in the guests. We're delighted to bring along with us a travel blogger with over 3.5 million subscribers on YouTube. We want to understand what he's been up to, how did this all start, and what is coming up next. I'd like to bring and introduce to you none other than Sam Chui. Sam, welcome.
Hey, hello, hi everyone.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you for coming along. And I think, not many introductions are needed. I think, you've created a space and changed that landscape of travel vlogging, and we want to get into that for sure. But actually, we want to hear about what you're going to be doing next as well, because I think this space is currently so exciting. We're finding every day new people entering this space. There's great opportunities for collaboration, but also bringing more to the consumer. And we're going to delve into that. But before we do that, I want to know, Sam, how did this all start? How does one decide they're going to start travel vlogging? What is your background? Where did you start?
It started in 1999. I started a website, initially sharing plane spotting photos, because I've always been an AF geek since I was young. And the website became bigger and bigger, and I started sharing trip report, showing people what flying airlines is about, and then sharing that experiences. And then later when smartphone comes and social media platform come, and I move it onto Instagram, I move it onto Facebook and YouTube, and then doing exactly the same. But the followers just keep growing because clearly they like it. They enjoy the ride together with me on the same experiences.
Yeah. So were you always in aviation, or your background? I know you worked in media basically, but you pivoted towards specifically aviation. What's driven that?
Yeah, I would say I've never been in aviation as a full employee because I started, after studying university, I learned finance and commerce, so I went to business right away. I was in banking and finance and investment banking, but aviation's always been a hobby. It's always been a passion. And so, when you're at work, you're thinking where to go on the weekend, where to travel, how to book the trip in the lowest possible price.
Yeah. Okay, great. So like I said, we've gone from pivoting from websites and then moving on to YouTube and social media. And like you said, I think it just caught, you caught the imagination of people in terms of you delivering something that they couldn't deliver, or experiences that they wanted to see. Is that what you think has really resonated with your audience?
I'll tell you what, when I was doing plane spotting when I was young, I was standing with 10 people outside the airport fence, and we're taking exactly the same photos. At that point, I realized I have to be different. I have to create something more exclusive and completely different to the other 10 guys standing next to me. So then I realized access is very important. I need to go inside the airport to get the access to get the best shot possible. So when I was doing my vlogging on travel experiences, I work with airlines. I work with airports, I work with the stakeholders to get internal access, to get access to the cockpits, to get access to a lot of things internally, externally people wouldn't able to create that special experiences. So I figured that the most important thing is to have this special collaboration in every way, whether you're doing business or you're doing vlogging, or in every way in every relationship, yeah.
Okay. And how difficult did you find that initial attempt to get inside? Because, coming from aviation, we are quite closed. We hide behind security, safety. We're not sure about what this guy is going to talk about. How did you find those initial steps? Or maybe even today, do you still find those difficulties where you're trying to get access?
No, it's not that difficult. If you are persistent, if you want to give a try, if in aviation people see your passion, if they see you have a real passion, and they might give you a chance. It may not always work, but at the end of the day, if you don't try, you don't know.
Yeah. No, it's a very good point. Can you give us an example of where that persistence has paid off that you've been really proud of?
Well, I'll tell you, I still remember the first time being invited into the Airbus in Toulouse, and that was the first maiden takeoff of A380 on 27 April 2005. I was 24 years old. I flew all the way from Sydney, Australia to Toulouse in 24 hours just to go to see the first takeoff of the A380 because there's only one takeoff. It's a maiden departure, right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest airliner, as we all knew.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anyone at Airbus, but I was sharing my passionate stories around to people along the way. And I talked to one person, he turned out to know an Airbus person, and he related my request and story to the Airbus person, and then they realized this guy traveled all the way from Australia. We'll give this guy a chance, he's a young guy, and then I was there. And I remember this gentleman, David Venupule, he called me, he set me up the access to go inside Airbus compound. I took my dream photo that day, and I had a whale of a time of seeing the 380, and I still remember. And then I realized it's very important to grasp this relationship and to handle it very carefully. And also, these people are the key to help you out. And then at the same time, also, if I could return something to help each other out in the aviation community, it's very important. Yeah. It's about to look after themselves and look after also everyone to help each other out.
I think you're right. It is definitely a community. I think as you walk in, you do realize, and I think you do end up seeing similar faces. And like you said, it is about maintaining those relationships and developing those. And like you say, if you could help along the way, then why would you not? Because it will always pay forward. So that's great. That's a great story actually, and it goes back to what you said about that skill, perseverance, and being proactive. Because like you said, you could have remained alongside those other 10 guys and just been happy with what you were doing. I think you saw an opportunity and you went after it, and clearly worked hard at it. And today it's brought you to where you are.
But I think most important thing, again, I would like to say, it's a passion-driven thing. I didn't work in aviation as a 9-to-5 job or as an operation job, and I always treat it specially. Yeah. I treat this thing very special. I treat all the privilege very special, as if every flight is my first time flying it, and I get excited genuinely and passionately inside my heart. The heartbeat goes faster when you go near an airport, see an airplane. And there's no bad flight in my logbook because I always enjoy something out of even though it's sitting with 200 people in the economy, cram yourself in. But I always look out the window and look at something greener and better. It's always a passion-driven thing. Without that passion, the motivation won't be there. Yeah.
Well, they say, don't they, if you find something passionate, it's not called work. So
that's right.
Clearly that's what you're doing there in terms of that, which is quite incredible. You talked about not having worked in aviation and not doing the 9-to-5. I guess the kind of access that you've managed to get and been around, have you ever considered it? Have you ever thought about maybe doing something in that to get that experience, whether it's an airline, the airports, or the parts you've been involved in? Has it ever crossed your mind?
Exactly. This is why I'm here for. Because I'm always big on passenger experience, the customer experience, CX. And I always want to create something more meaningful to help the traveler to gain better knowledge, to see, to know what to expect before they're flying, right? And being a one-man voice is not enough. Being a one-man voice or making one YouTube video or one flight review cannot represent the whole airline or the whole industry. It's only representing one occasion and one voice. And on the same airplane, 300 people, you have 300 different kind of opinions and reviews, right? Yeah. So here, I'm trying to set up an app with Trend, which is a tech firm in the UK, that set up an app that is going to redefine the passenger experience and also redefine the Net Promoter Score of each airline. So to have a data-driven, very black and white model on the customer experience at airports and and flying at airlines. Yeah. So very simple. It's exactly what I've been doing as one man here. Yeah. I want thousands of the public traveler joining me, giving their opinions and sharing their reviews and photo content in this new app I'm creating.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really exciting, actually. I was going to ask you, actually, as you say, you grow the subscription. There's only so much you can do in terms of yourself. And what is the next plan? So actually, Trend sounds like an amazing feature here that you're doing in terms of bringing the tech and bringing the experience to more people. Is it going to be more customer focused, as in you're going to get those reviews from travelers? How is that going to interact with for example, the airlines? How do you envisage that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're learning the game every time when we come out to a conference, to a festival like this, meeting all the stakeholders. So I want to create a really meaningful app. I don't want to waste people's 5-minute time to put in a survey, then nobody heard of them, right? I want to team up together the customer side to give them incentive why they should come to do a review and spend their 5-minute valuable time. At the same time, the airport and the airlines, why they should listen to the customer. They should actually look out the trends. You know, whether it's an airport, there's the Wi-Fi is not working, or the toilet's dirty, or on the airplane, the cleanliness, or whether the food and beverage need to be refined, or lots of these touch points. These, feedback should be funneled to the stakeholders, to the airports and the airlines. At the same time, the reviews should be acknowledged as well. Yeah. So I'm developing an ecosystem of redefining the review and survey. It's not going to be the boring, most likely, least likely, 0 to 10 after, we all been doing that, and then it's just an infinite loop of spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes and then you get tired and you want to give up in the middle because they're asking too many questions. Yeah. It's going to be a very simple, straight black and white, like what area do you like, what area you think you can improve. And then there's going to be AI helping you to pick out the most relevant parts, and these reviews and data will be shared with the airlines, and then we also will get a report card from the airline to acknowledge these.
Okay, fantastic, right. Well, I think it's going to be insightful data. I think, my background coming from an airline as well, I think I agree with you. Sometimes we're so focused on actually collecting the data, but actually being able to turn it into meaningful action is the challenge, because there's so much of it and it's so scattered. And as you say, sometimes it can be exhausting, the whole process, but actually what are you looking to do with that data? So I think if you can provide that in a simple and effective way, it sounds very interesting, and I think you're going to be able to interact with both the end user, whoever puts the data in for you, and then also hopefully the users on the other end in terms of airlines.
Yeah, you think about it, it's so many ways to look at these data and contents from crowdsource. If I go on Google Flights today, £600, London to Dubai, and I have airline A, B, and C giving me same price, if I don't have a loyalty, which airline I should go with? A, B, or C? So I might be able to come up to look at Sam's app and look into, what airline A, B, C offers them in terms of food, in terms of the comfort of the seats or the cabin, or which aircraft they're flying. So I think if traveler can use this good information to select what they're going to travel and make the valuable decision ahead of time, and then we're there.
I'm going to ask you something controversial when it comes to that, right? How does the traveler know that these are authentic reviews? How do you ensure that they're authentic? Because we know airlines will call people along, they want to show the best of what they have. It'll always be the aircraft that's the nicest, has the nicest cabins, has everything they want to put across. How does the customer, when they're looking at these reviews, how can they trust them?
So genuinity is absolutely the pillar of our app. So there has to be a proof of attendance. So the app will be syncing your itinerary from your Outlook or email, or it could be reading your boarding pass. So they knew this person has actually flown. It's not a fake review, it's not a robot review, because the person actually has the itinerary and has flew with the airline. And then he also could submit the data such as geotag locations, so to prove that he's done from London to Dubai. He has submitted a photo of him at London airport or on board the aircraft. So we do have reviewer looking into that.
Yeah, and that's really reassuring, because I think that's always the concern, right? Because then you get in that difficult place, isn't it, with sponsorship and airlines pushing what they want to push, when actually, as you say, you want it to be about the customer experience and the traveler's experience reflecting what they're experiencing. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, but I think, Suhail, it is in the best interest of an airline to have genuine data and feedback. Yeah. I think we're not in the old days anymore. I think in this age, that airline value this feedback. That's the whole existence of why we're doing this, is to give a large number of data, a large amount of data. It's not one biased review or one slightly negative reviews, because I knew that in the review sphere, most people will only care about writing a review when they have negative experiences.
Yes.
And they don't share when there's a positive experiences, right? So we're going to have algorithm to detect the score of each airline. You know, you could have initially a negative experience about your flights being canceled and changed. But if the airline can recover themselves, let's say they offer you a solution or a compensation, that could be a plus again.
Absolutely.
That could be a turnaround of a situation. So this has to be taken into consideration.
Okay, great. So what's the timelines? What can we expect? When can we see some of the first iterations of this app?
So we're hoping that proof of concept will come very quickly because we're still gathering a lot of valuable feedback from all the stakeholders, from users like travelers, passengers like myself, and also from stakeholders from airports, because airport makes some very valuable points saying, Sam, for example, airport ABC have 2 terminals. One terminal could have a better experience than the second terminal. So we have to be taking account into all of these, how to measure fairly and honestly, like you said.
Perfect. And what's the end game of this? Where do you feel it's going to head? Because I mean, I can already, my brain's going in one way already when I'm listening to some of this stuff. But where do you think this is headed?
Well, I think we want to become the heard voice. We want to be the industry leading voice of a independent third-party review app that brings thousands of public travelers to share their experiences and also benefiting the future travelers making that decision which airline, which airport to use.
It might be disappointing for people to hear. They might not be seeing as much of you on places like YouTube and stuff. Is that going to still be the case, or are you still going to keep that going as well?
Well, absolutely. I think I will use my YouTube channel continuously to share the improvement, the updates in the aviation industry. It's not about just reviewing a flight, as simple as that. It's about sharing stuff that I gain access to, behind the scenes, how an airport works, behind the scenes, how an airline operates. You know, the aviation industry is far more complex than just reviewing a flight.
Yes.
You know, lots of people only see that's the end product, basically. That's what passenger flies. But then there's a lot of things going on, as you and I would agree, in this industry that there's so much content haven't been seen.
Yes.
So using my YouTube channel to leverage that is actually paramount.
Yeah, success. Okay, great. And so yeah, look, going back to your, your travel vlogs. You seem to be getting, like you said, great access. I think you've covered it really, really well. Like I said, if I was to ask you, what's in the pipeline when it comes to that? Because I've seen you at some of the most craziest places. I've seen you taking PIA across the Himalayas. I've seen you behind the scenes at some of the most incredible airports that are opening. What can your subscribers and viewers expect in the coming months when it comes to your YouTube channel?
Yeah, my channel is all about uniqueness and event-driven. So it's about, maybe next month the A321 XLR is coming out with Iberia. That could be one of those. And going to Colombia, fly with the most dangerous cargo airline on the oldest 727. That could be one of those. It's always going to be something that is unique, that is probably you can't purchase a ticket. Then I can show you what that unique experience is like. So it's kind of different, a little bit different to most others people doing. Is instead of reviewing a flight, it's actually sharing an aviation experience.
No, and I agree. And I think, like you said, I think it's getting a ticket is something you can't buy, which is really, really, really unique.
Indeed.
Okay. So again, I want to talk about now the experience of building this YouTube channel. How important is confidence when it comes to building a type of community that you have? Because, look, everyone these days wants to start a YouTube channel. It seems to be something that everyone wants to do, but not everyone can do it successfully as you have. So if you were talking to someone who is looking to start a YouTube channel, I won't just specifically say around travel blogging, it might be anything in the industry. What would your advice be to them?
Look, I think you need to have the passion. You need to have the motivation and drive, right? You need to be disciplined as well. Because if you only have one video, then in 6 months you have a second video, you might lose the audience retention, right? So it is a combination of perseverance and also motivation. But if you love something you do, then I guess you have the motivation. Then you have to pick on topic that is also not misleading. And lots of people really like to put negative titles on it because they think negativity sells. But I can tell you that no longer is the case because there's plenty of those cases out there. So you might want to be something that is genuine and smart, that you felt there's a niche that is really for you to be in there. And then, I somehow benefited from the first mover's advantage. I had a channel for a very long time. It really took off in about 2015, 2016, 2017. But I want to say I've never spent 1 cent in marketing the channel. I've never spent 1 cent advertising, buying followers, or doing anything, because the content I provided, the content I've uploaded to YouTube itself, that brings you subscribers, that brings you the hits, the views, because these are good contents. Like I said, jump inside the fence. Don't stand on the fence outside with 10 guys on the same playing ground. That would not give you an edge.
No, I think it's a very powerful statement. I think it's something we're definitely going to have to snip up, because it's absolutely that. You almost want to be in the room, as they say, and in your case you're saying on the other side of the fence, so makes a lot of sense. Sam, how do you deal with the detractors? Because, I think what YouTube and what you do does gain you popularity and it gets you traction, but there'll always be those people that see it in a negative way, and social media can be quite a brutal place in that sense.
You turn that situation around. You turn these detractors into something positive, and then benefits for them and for yourself. That's how I see every time. I don't get knocked down, and I feel I quite enjoy this kind of thing, because only that shows that you are actually famous. Someone's jealous of you and putting those negative comments or negative titles, but actually, it motivates you to become a better person, I say.
Yeah. And then, like you said, it's a good way of looking at it, right? Because a lot of people can find themselves in their own comments, and get lost.
I just don't get it. Those people put those comments in are silly, and they're wasting their time by putting those comments, and you're doing nobody's favor, and you're not even enjoying it. It's just so much negativity around. If you could use the time wisely, do something creative, constructive, and be positive, and you can be a better yourself.
Yeah. Okay, great. And I want to now talk about skills, and in this space that you're in. What are the kind of top 3 skills you would expect to see someone in this space? We talked about perseverance. I think that will come up as one. But other items that you think are really valuable for people in this space?
Well, if you're talking about making YouTube, I think you should treat YouTube as a serious business. It's not just a fun. It is fun, but it's more than that. It's actually a serious full-blown business. You could derive a very nice income to support yourself, your lifestyle, and your family as well. So I think you need to think creatively. This is most important, is that what can you do to contribute that is not out there yet? You got something that is nobody else have, then that's your edge.
Yeah. Finding that uniqueness to make sure that you find
it's
your
the same
space.
as every other business. The succeeding factor is being unique. And also founding something that somebody would like you, right?
Yeah. Okay, great. So we talked about the app, which sounds super exciting. What else is in the pipeline over the coming months for Sam Chui?
Well, the deck is always it's always event-driven. So there might be a couple air shows and air events and conferences, but mainly we're going to devote our time. The app is absolutely right now on my forefront. I had this idea since end of 2020. It took me 3 years to found the right tech provider, to get everything aligned, because it's not that easy just to build an app. You got to think about the incentives for user, why they should use it. You're going to think about also monetization ways, how you monetize the app and sustain the app as well, right? So it's definitely not easy. It's not like I don't want to build an app and in 6 months then scrap the idea. You want to do something very meaningful and long as well, right? Yeah.
Yeah, great. No, we look forward to that. Going back to some of your experiences now, because I think, like you said, they are once-in-a-lifetime experiences that you have had the privilege of experiencing. Talk to me about most scariest.
Well, I have quite a few scary flights, and one of them on the Russian Illusion 86 suspected there was a bomb planted on board. But they never really tell you whether there is or not, and they once we boarded the flight, they tell everyone to come back to the terminal, and then they put the dogs out there to search, and then they didn't want to change the plane. They said this is the only plane you can fly, and then in a few hours, at 5 a.m. you go back to fly, and then the plane is noisy as hell, vibration, it was crazy. So at 5 a.m. rocket out of Siberia, you're thinking this might be your last flight in your life, because in any minute the thing will blow off, right? So I have experiences like that. I have experience on supersonic Concorde traveling the twice the speed of sound with heats coming out of metal next to the wall. But that one's not that dangerous, of course. But then I've flown a lot of flight that is, there's in aviation, right? If you don't do things right, it can go wrong drastically.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And then in terms of, we could always look at your most popular, and that's down to the audiences, right? But I think in terms of you, if I was to ask you stories around some of these vlogs that you've done, which is the most interesting for you so far? You've done so many, I know it's very hard to pick one, but maybe one or two that you could share with us.
Well, I always like aviation adventures, and that's kind of give you a kick when you look back what you have achieved. So a helicopter flight to Mount Everest, a flight to Bhutan, the most dangerous airports, a flight to Antarctica, landing on ice runway, fly on supersonic Concorde. There's a lot to boost to tell you because I'm into every type of civilian airplanes. Yeah. So my idea is to fly on every civilian airplane, turboprops or jets, And also, I recently flew a 747 private jet, which is ex-presidential head of state. So that's also a very awesome experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's, like I said, it's great that you're able to take these experiences and then share them with the world because, like you said, not everyone gets to do them. No, fantastic. Sam, I want to now talk to you about people coming into this industry because you work in this industry. One of the big things we do in on our podcast is we try and highlight this industry. I think there are great aspects to it. Yes, you need the passion to join it, but actually, what would be why should someone choose a career in aviation or to be associated with it?
Oh, first you have to be interested into aviation. If you're not interested in aviation, you will not last long. You will move from career to career. All the people I met in aviation succeeded has been the aviation for a very good time, and also because they're fast problem solver. They learn and they solve problems.
Perfect. Okay. And again, people don't realize the kind of access that you've gotten. Can you tell us about some of these personalities? So, for example, who's the most interesting of these personalities that you've spent time with?
I think those people are very fast and very sharp. And in a minute, they can read your mind, they can figure you out, and they know you're genuine or not, and they know what you want as well. And they also are good problem solutions thinkers. They also try to think the best to help you as well, to help you to achieve what can they contribute, and also maybe what can they get something in return as well, right? Yeah. It's always two-way round.
Absolutely. Okay. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, I really don't have any best piece of advice to anyone because I just want to say, be yourself and chase your dreams. Yeah. But don't expect work 9 to 5 and get there. You have to give in a lot more than 9 to 5. I've never seen a guy just work 1 hour per day and I'm sure at some point in their life they work hard first and then rip the reward later, right?
Yeah. Okay, great. And in terms of advice you've been given along the way, because like I said, you've been meeting some incredible people in this industry. What piece of advice have you been given that kind of stayed with you that you could share with us?
I will always say that human is the most important. It's the people. Yeah. It's how you build relationship around them, and then everything is enabled once you build a good relationship. So that human interaction and people to people is the most important thing.
And that is something that stems throughout when we talk to people that come on here. One thing I'll just say around that is then how let's talk about networking, because as you say, building these relationships, you need to be able to network. And a lot of people have a lot of trepidation around that, and they get really nervous. What would be your advice to those type of people? How do you guide people around networking?
Well, I think sometimes you might want to do some research as well. See if you have a mutual friend or mutual connections that can help you to make an introduction. That definitely will remove a lot of these insecurity away. If you know, we have a mutual friend, that could be also a cold start to open a line of conversation, right? So, I just feel like myself, I am quite a people person, that I'm not too afraid to approach people. But obviously it's not easy. Yeah. And if you want to approach someone at a CEO level, it's not easy. Yeah. That might take some perseverance and also take some patience to get there. But eventually you get there. Maybe it's not immediately. And then you're going to work on it every time and get knocked back and try again, knock back and try again. Depends on what your goal is.
Have you got an example you could share with us where it's been quite hard to access? I think of my mind when I look at some of your videos, but I'm sure you went through it, so you'd probably know as well. But in terms of accessing and finally getting there, that you've been like, finally, this perseverance has really paid off, and I had to go down a certain route, make sure I'm genuine, make sure I get that across.
Well, I think initially it was more difficult, like I shared the example earlier, getting into Airbus to see the first A380 maiden takeoff. As a 24-year-old college graduate kid, I have no relationships, and that first time was actually a key stepping stone for me, and I learned a lot from there.
So now hopefully the brand helps, the brand of Sam Chui helps when you're actually sending that across as well, which is really important. Okay, great. So look, I'm very conscious we're wrapping through time very quickly. So I want to do what we have called a quick-fire round we normally end with on our podcast. I'm going to play a bit more off the cuff because I think you've got some really interesting stories that you can share with us. So feel free to elaborate on any of the questions. It's just a play on something we do. We'll start with favorite aircraft type.
747.
Why?
Because that's the first love of my life.
Brilliant.
It's a plane.
Yeah.
It's not a car. It's not a girl.
Brilliant. Favorite airport?
If it's a favorite airport as a user experience, I would say Singapore, Changi. If it's a favorite airport for plane spotting, then there's too many.
Yeah, okay. All right. So then we won't ask how many, because otherwise we'll be spending a lot of time doing that.
Oh, yeah.
Window seat or aisle seat?
Window seat.
Okay. Chicken or beef?
Beef.
One item you can't travel without?
Phone.
Okay. Strangest in-flight experience you've ever had?
Too many. Like I said, there was bomb on board, there's supersonic, sonic boom. There could be gold with golden bathroom, golden toilet.
Tell us about this one. Tell us.
Oh, the golden bathroom, golden toilet is usually on the head of state aircraft, especially from the Middle East. So I got two very good opportunities. I've flown two ex-head of state airplane. One is ex-Qatar and one is ex-UAE. And they both have very good bling-bling on board.
Okay. Did you do the deed or just had a look?
Well, you know, when you fly on 10-hour flights, you have to do something there, I think.
Brilliant. Dream destination you haven't visited yet?
Well, that's a tough one. There's still quite a few. I'm hoping to visit Colombia next month. And it's always aviation-driven as well. It's not a tourist-driven answer for me. It's always when there's something rare airplane you want to fly, and you don't care which country it is. As long as the plane is there, you go there.
But like you said, the passion means that actually that doesn't feel like work. Actually, you're going to Colombia because of that. But
that's a passion-driven thing. That's not work. That's like the work is like work tells you where to go. And for me, it's like I choose when I want to go and how and when I feel want to go. Right. That's a passion thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people will be envious of being in that position. But like you said, you've worked hard to make sure that you can do that and be a bit more selective. Your earliest aviation memory?
It's Kai-Tak. Watching 747 landing, banking 47 degrees on IGS runway 13, instrument guiding system of runway 13 at the Checkerboard Hills. Every 747 had hairy landings, but every hairy landing makes you love this hobby and aviation.
Wow. Yeah. Very clear memory. Things that inspire you about aviation and travel?
I think, again, it's the human kindness. People help each other out. When they see you have a passion, people actually really help you.
Okay. Things you hate most about the aviation travel industry?
I think aviation industry need to be more agile, need to be more, sometimes we're a little bit lag behind technologies. Of course, safety is paramount. But what I say, technology could be not just on the airplane itself, but also in the industry, right? The industry right now, we're using NPS score that is developed from financial markets. That has to be something new to challenge the values. Coming to aviation festival is great because you met a lot of startup business, a lot of bright-minded, and see a lot of cool things that is derived from the pain points from their work.
Yes.
A lot of people used to work in certain place. They found out there's so much pain that they just can't stand it. Then they went ahead to develop something to create something better for the whole industry.
Absolutely. Okay. Your worst aviation travel experience?
I don't have one. You know why? Everyone asks me, Sam, what's your worst flight? Because there might be some very mediocre flight that is so boring, but then you can still get something out of the flight, honestly. Like I said, look out the window, or, I always enjoy a takeoff and landing. There's no bad flight for me, because so far I haven't encountered something that is disastrous,
Okay. One aviation myth you'd want to debunk?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Out of the head
I guess
right
you get
now.
a lot of behind-the-scenes access, so you might think, actually, you know what? That's not entirely true, or...
Well, I'll tell you this, right? A lot of people think it's really hard to learn flying, and that includes myself. I didn't achieve a private pilot license until I hit 40. In 2020, I achieved it. And then after that, I just told myself, why don't I do this 20 years ago when I was younger? And I waited until I felt 40-year-old and out of just COVID, when there's nothing around, and you finally got the time, 3 months, 4 months, you learn flying, and then you found this is a lot easier than I thought.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, look, we have a bit of a shortage of pilots around, and I think that will be quite inspiring to those that are thinking about joining, because it does come across as quite a difficult skill. So for you to be able to testimony that you had that commitment and be able to do it, and actually feel that way, is probably really quite interesting for our viewers. Moving very quickly, favorite aircraft livery?
Oh, wow. That's also a very tough one. Yeah, because your tastes change every day. My mind change every day.
What is
and
it
your
today?
taste change, like your favorite food change every week as well, all right? So, I like the old United. It's designed by a very famous designer called Sol Bass in the early 90s. Before the battleship. This one's the friendship livery. It's got the orange and blue stripes and white color, but it's got cheat lines on the window, and it looks really great for United. That was actually, the first 747 I've flown in that livery, so I always liked that. It was a love at first sight, I guess.
It's always about those connections, isn't it? I'm noticing. Okay, one historical aviation event you wish you could have witnessed?
Oh, look, I wish I could get on the last flight of the Concorde, the supersonic, or standing at the approach path of Heathrow in 2003, October. Because looking like 22 years later now, we still haven't gone back to the speed of supersonic yet.
Yeah.
So it still takes us some time, or if we ever going to get there, that's still a question mark.
I don't live in regret, but there's one regret I do have is my father actually worked in the industry, and he had a chance to go on Concorde with me, and we weren't able to go.
Oh,
and
no.
It's one of those things you think back, you always think there'll be another chance, right? And whether it's a 747 or Concorde, these things, they're iconic. They're iconic. So, we share that one. The future of aviation: electric planes or supersonic travel?
For me, I would choose supersonic over electric.
We won't let the
I don't think
sustainability hear that.
look. Realistically, I don't think the electric will take off on any size like a 737 or 320. So electric plane may be more regional commuter planes or eVTOLs. But supersonic, man, that saves time, man. What is better? What is more valuable than time in the world?
Yeah. No, agreed. One innovation you think will change air travel in the next decade?
I really want to have a seamless experience. Everything will be seamless. And I'm hoping that we will get there with seamless. Like I'm talking about customer experience, airports, airlines, that everything is as predicted or as expected, a very smooth experience. So it's again to knocking out a lot of these touch points on the journey to make them better.
Where do you think is doing better when it comes to that? If there's an airport or an airline that you feel like is on the cusp of doing something in that space?
I think that everyone's been paying attention on sustainability. Again, it's difficult to measure those results other than the visibility we can see using less plastic or more paper products or this kind of stuff. A lot of sustainability or how the SAF is made, and this stuff is not visible by passengers. At the same time, there is a strong advocate voice of going green and saving carbon emissions, right? So we are all part of this. I don't think we should have a restrictive mindset of flying, just to fly less to or travel less. I think we should, again, looking at technology that's overcome these hurdles.
No, absolutely. And I think, as you linked before, the Trend app it also helps do that as well, which is hopefully what we're looking for in the future. I want to ask you your top 5 favorite airlines and why. They don't have to be the best or whatever, just in terms of for you.
Yeah, definitely Emirates and Qatar Airways in the 2 Middle East. Not because they pay me, they never pay me, to be honest, but it's because of the diversity of these airlines. You felt like it doesn't matter what nationality you are, you go on board, there's always, you found multiple mix of nationalities, a beautiful mix, it's a global village on these airlines. I do like a few Asian airlines because they're attentive to service, like Singapore Airlines, Cathay Pacific, and I think that also it's not just about the airlines, the aircraft type I like. Some airlines, they like Lufthansa, they operate a lot of 747, and you go with that as well. So my choice is definitely not the, this is why I want everyone to come in to rate the airline, to see which airline is actually the top 10, right? Yeah.
I'm an unbiased, aggregated view.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, if you could fly any aircraft, which one would it be?
Oh, there would definitely be something that I haven't flown before. Maybe going back to the golden years of aviation, like the Lockheed Constellation, or something that is, not that there's not active anymore, those planes.
Okay. Best tip for jet lag? I'm sure you've got a lot of tips.
I can't give you best tip for jet lag because I'm jet lagged all the time. When you're all the time, you just try to stay up during the day. Don't fall asleep, because if you fall asleep, it will change your pattern and it will damage your pattern. Try to make the most on during the day and sleep at night, but then you hate to wake up at 3 a.m. at 4 a.m. It happens.
Yeah, fair enough. One piece of travel advice you would give anyone?
I guess it's travel less, because I experienced one time last week in the US, I carry nothing to travel, just my wallet and my phone. And no
travel
bags,
with less,
travel with less. Because I'm only going on a short trip, and I'm only going on same-day return. So I didn't carry any bags, I didn't pack anything, and then it feels so relaxing without any belongings, just your phone and wallets.
I must admit, I was getting trepidation when you said that. I was thinking, you're always holding something. You always feel like you need to hold something, but that's, like you say, not feeling like you're holding something.
Imagine one day we all walk on a plane with minimum belongings. And then you will feel a lot different, trust me. If you do that one time, let's say you book on a day trip London to somewhere and back, and then give that a go and see how much difference that makes.
Okay, great. We're just coming to the end. Favorite in-flight snack or beverage?
My favorite beverage on the plane is mimosa. And I eat anything on board, so if you got anything for me, favorite snack, I don't have one, but
try them all.
Anything.
Okay. A dream person you would sit on next to on a long haul flight?
Oh my God. I don't know. I never thought about that one, because it's just like, the other day I saw Enrique Iglesias, right? Yeah, that's like, like you just don't know. Your luck will come, and I don't want to tell you because like I don't want to jinx it, Yeah.
All right. Someone who's not alive. You would have wished you could have sat next to. Let's change it around then, so we don't jinx it.
I just like to sit with an aviation like-minded person that can have a good conversation. It doesn't have to be a great person. It doesn't have to be a president,
Well, look, that's the end of our quick fire round. So thank you for entertaining us there. And I think it's a nice way to end, because I think what comes through across all this podcast is your passion for aviation. And I think if there's anything anyone takes away from this is about making sure you follow that passion and making sure you can enjoy what you do. And there's a lot of things in the industry that we can do. So there's definitely some passion you can find here, and I think you definitely come across with that. We wish you the very best with your app. I think it sounds amazing. I think it's something that is definitely needed as we talk through that. And look, we look forward to hearing more from you. We'd love to get you back once the app is up and running as well. And look forward to your next adventure. So thank you very much for taking the time out.
And see you in the next year's Aviation Festival.
Yes, we'll be there again for sure. Take care. Thank you, everyone. That's the end. Make sure you like, hit and subscribe, and we can continue to get great guests like Sam along and continue to talk about what is this great industry. Keep flying high.